What's up, dudes? Welcome to episode 12 of, don't worry, I'll never intro a podcast like that again. Yiska did not like that one at
and
all.
somehow we are in 2017 again.
It's not, dude. It's totally a 2018 thing. Tim the Tatman still does it. Therefore, it's still a thing.
Yeah.
Male entertainer streamer of the year, by the way.
That's a dad joke now, dude.
Welcome to, dude, that beard is a dad joke right there.
Okay.
That beard is a dad joke.
Yeah,
It's just getting all kinds of weird.
Welcome to episode 12 of Tactical Crouch, where we talk about competitive Overwatch and make a lot of jokes and memes and argue and make friendly wagers with each other. That's about all we do. Your hosts, Joe Volamel something, Sasha,
That's me.
Yiska something, and me, John KickedTripod something. So let's talk about some Overwatch here. Why are you giggling already, Yiska?
We're the something brothers.
I remember your last name, and as a German, it's just beautiful. For the Germans, his name is Horstman, which is basically Horstmann, and Horst is sort of like a first name that usually refers to people that are quite stupid. Like you would say things like, and that is, by the way, 2010. It's like, you are Vollhorst. And
Is this like some sort of like Kevin thing again?
Yes, it pretty much is, but it's for old people.
I had somebody tell me that Horstman, Horstmann, means man of the woods in German.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, literally, yeah.
Literally a man of the woods.
Well,
A real Bear Grylls of our generation.
Yeah, I think they might have mistranslated the Horst. Well, sort of. I get where he comes from. I'm not 100% sure if that is what it refers to, because there's a word that's very close.
He's
There's
just like
a word that's very close.
He's like the kind of guy who's like looked up other people's and paid for other people's genealogy because he thinks it's fun, kind of thing. So, you know, that kind of weirdo. Don't worry, he doesn't know what Twitch is, so I think we're good here. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Overwatch here. We did our 20 to 16 rankings. Jeez, that breathing is so loud, Yiska. It's all right.
It is also very deserved.
The biggest sigh of his life.
I know. I like, ow.
The weight of the world.
Sorry, audio listeners, for having to hear that. But you know,
rip headphone users.
You know, Yiska wants you to hear his sighs. Apparently, he wants you to be able to hear that. Yeah, Yiska's just here to translate German. Yes, he is. Anyways, we went number 20 to number 16. It was a really fun conversation. We all really enjoyed it. Some people took personal offense to that, and for which we're not sorry. Like, get over it.
Others became a lord.
When did you become a lord? Nothing's even finished.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll see.
I don't.
Unless you're referring to vowels, which in case. Well done, lord.
You know, every Thursday I meet with Yiska from the future in the time machine and get these things. Hence why Prophet.
Yeah.
Hence why London Spitfire.
Like, how he only brings up the ones that he got right.
Theory. Yeah, really.
Do you know? So you know what I did the other day? I went into my iPhone and notes, and I put, I am calling that X team is going to win Overwatch League, and I just did it 20 times and snapped screenshots with the timestamps and date stamps on them.
Can never be wrong.
It's not difficult, guys. It's not difficult. Next level. That's how Magic's done, by the way. Yeah, so we did number 20 through number 16. Thank you, most of you, for taking like really, I think really, like we had a lot of really great discussion around these this week, and that was great. We love it. These are, I mean, they're predictions, right? In the end, they can't really hold any weight because they're just predictions, and some people value different things than others, or think that we're wrong in weighing something differently than how they weighed them. That's a great discussion to have. However, because I rated your team low does not mean that I hate your team. Does not mean that I won't root for your team. Doesn't mean that I haven't been rooting for your teams. Just settle down. Just rankings. Just fun. It's just fun. It's just a podcast. It's just fun. Where did you
trying to get the
We're gonna do
Get the movement.
Yeah. We're gonna do number 15 through number 11 today, or at least how far we go. I don't know how far we're gonna get. I only prepared 15 through 11, so hopefully we don't go much farther than that. Otherwise, oops, internet issues or something like that.
We're tunnel.
It's really easy to sound like you have internet issues if you just enable push to talk in Discord.
Exactly.
That's how Joe like lags out of our Brawl Stars games. He's like, and you can hear him hitting the button, engaging the button.
It doesn't work.
It's actually it's spot on. It's really good. So, if you want to look at our previous rankings, it is on our twitter.com/OWL Daily Show. It's only like 3 or 4 tweets down. Pretty easy. Otherwise, anybody in chat can link that for you. I'll also have it linked in the YouTube video. And I will try to remember.
Got it.
Great.
Oh, do you have it?
Who's faster? Yiska is faster. There they are. Boom. Right there. 20 through 16. Right there for you. Let's go ahead, though. We're going to start at number 15. Before we do, though, Joe, Yiska, any words or thoughts before we jump into this?
Dude, these were hot. These were so hard.
I like these. He's been huffing and puffing all pre-show, like, these are so hard. Like, the weight of the world relies on my prediction, and my prediction alone shall guide the plebs into the night with more information that they've ever had in their entire Overwatch viewing careers. And I'm like, dog, any of these teams could be in here, and it'd probably be right. So it's not a bad prediction. There's no wrong answers here. There are
a couple of wrong answers.
I don't know.
If you say NYXL as the next name, that's the wrong answer.
That's true. Okay, that's fair. That's a wrong answer.
Yeah,
that's right.
I mean, there has to be some level of logic to it, right?
Little bit. Some level, but
I
think there are downsides to every team that you can be like, oh, well, they're not tested here. Like, they kind of slipped up here. Like, I don't know. Like, I think we all kind of like started talking last week about how, there is an argument to be made to kind of look at London in a more negative light. And, it's difficult to try and pitch it that way, but there's an argument to be made there.
Mm-hmm.
So, while I agree that there are some wrong answers, I think 10 to 15 or 10 or where are we 15 to 11, like any of these teams could be kind of mixed around. I'm actually interested to see if we have any like varying, any big jump.
Honestly, I was surprised at how close we were on 20 to 16. I think I was the only one who brought in Paris. But I think every other, and then I was the only one who didn't bring in. I didn't bring in Houston.
Yeah,
I did.
I'm trying to think of where you guys might have disagreed. Anywhere Justice, Outlaws.
Yeah, we weren't too different.
Yeah, I was the only one who had some different ones there.
I'll be shocked to see if we're that different.
Basically, I added Eternal into this ranking, and you guys had Houston, where I had. That was the team. So
yeah,
let's start at number 15 and tell you what. I think last time we started with you, Joe, didn't we, for number 20?
I don't know.
All right, we're gonna start with Yiska this time. Yiska, who is your number 15?
Paris Eternal. So this is where I think, in my mind, these are the 6 teams that form like a nice package of the lower ranks. And these, like Paris Eternal putting there, I didn't have too much trouble with. The thing is, I think that, as I said last episode, I would have ranked them lower if they didn't get Saita. Yeah, I have no idea how this can work out like super positively for them. I think they have a pretty low skill ceiling, or like pop-off ceiling over the season. I would be very, very surprised if they made even the play-ins, and 15 is where I would place them.
Someone described the Paris Eternal as the EU super team, Yiska. Is that do you agree with that? Is that a EU super team? I mean, I'm assuming because it's at 15,
No.
maybe not. But if you
Yeah.
took the best talent in the EU and put them all on the team, how many of
No.
them are on this team?
So if you want to count EQ as European, which you probably shouldn't, but then again, he played in Europe and everything like that.
Not regionally, but
Yeah.
eh.
There's no way anyone on that team is ahead of EQO.
Yeah.
Poco, there's no one on that team ahead of Poco.
What about unsigned Overwatch League people? So
Yeah, you
people
could
who
even
weren't
just
in
go
season
contenders.
Well,
And
that's
I
not a
think-
super team then. Like,
Yeah.
I know, but
like
like
a super
imagine,
team would be Anko as well.
I guess
and
I would
Sure,
say
sure.
unsigned super team that's not
Yeah.
on that weren't in Overwatch league teams in season 1. So take those players out of it. If you're like,
Yeah.
I'm going to make an EU team with the best of what's left over, is that the best team that you can make?
Probably, yeah, but it's concerning that the best player they have is Soon, and that wasn't one of the guys that were available. They literally had to buy them from Paris. And by the way, no, in regards to the backline, I think you can make a better backline. You could have probably shelled out more for Masa. You could have shelled out for Ripper. Either they were like traded too highly because obviously like other teams were gunning for them, but also because it's you probably want the French people, right? Let's be fair. Like that's clearly one objective here, to get some. They have 3 French players, if I'm not mistaken. Poco certainly is too expensive to buy out, so I think with what they had, those decisions were probably pretty good. It's also, for instance, RCK would probably have been an upgrade. I don't think that stuff is at all like
Such
even
a shame
from the
they
people.
didn't get him. I'm so mad.
Yeah, like I think there's no way this could be described as a super team, even if you say that people who haven't been signed in Europe. I think at least half the players on that team don't fit that bill.
Fair enough. Joe, so normally we all say it and then we start arguing. We broke the format a little bit. That's okay.
That's
Joe,
all right.
who's your number 15?
At 15, I have clocked in the Guangzhou Charge as my 15th seed.
Interesting. Why? So why at 15?
So why at 15? I think they have a lot of upside. But I still have a lot of questions around their calling structure and how this team works together, right? And I've written about this a little bit at length, but for the most part, you've got basically a team that was built with not a ton of kind of team culture or team, chemistry in mind, where yes, you have Kib, yes, you have Nero, you have, a solid Korean core, and you have people like Eileen and Only Wish, where one of them is actually pretty solid. And I still am quite interested on where or why Only Wish is kind of like stuck around in teams so long. It's not that he's that bad. It's just, I think, there is some sort of intangible there that is pushing him along that I just can't know, or we just can't know. But for the most part, he is kind of very serviceable, like painfully serviceable, right? And looking past their skill for the most part, you start to, I seriously start to wonder, like, how is this team calling? Are they calling Korean? Are they calling in English? Because if that's the case, I think that really puts a ceiling on them. Because that's just 2 players you're kind of accounting for. And while I've heard stirrings that like the Metabellum players have kind of been going through like English training for a long time, in other esports we have these kind of big jokes that oh, this Korean player speaks great English and they can barely get by, like they can maybe order food correctly and that's about it. Like they can't really hold meaningful conversations and kind of have a back and forth to be able to discuss problems or be able to call like very specific things correctly. And obviously, as we know, Overwatch is a game that's very team based and very calling structure. You know, it's so important having a strong calling structure that while I think Guangzhou could be good just mechanically, I seriously worry about them in the long term. I kind of see them peaking very early and then kind of tanking off at the later end of the season. I'll use the Yiska's argument for Houston and say they could make a strong midseason performance if they fill out maybe the full Korean roster and just go full Korean, just so they have like a strict team identity. You don't have these different kind of inputs coming from other cultures and whatnot. But yeah, it feels like a mix mash. Feels like a team that was kind of moneyballed in a way, where we didn't kind of look at any of the intangibles and we just kind of threw them together, and it could work. I just don't think it will.
Yeah, I mean, well, you've got the Metabellum core, right? Which, sure. I mean, they've had 2 top 4 finishes in the last 2 Korean contenders in 2018, which, you know, is strong, especially considering who was kind of involved in all that and how those other teams that kind of have gone. You've got Hotba, right, from the Fusion, who
was okay. Didn't see much play time.
I'm not high on Hotba, but at the same time, having that experience there, especially in the tank line, I think is going to be really important for them. And
sure, it's probably something they're going to have to lean on.
So we're probably looking at Rio Hotba to kind of carry that tank line for sure, right? I think for me, where I feel really conflicted, because sorry, my number 15 is also Guangzhou Charge. So
same. Oh, sorry.
Not same.
Liar.
Okay.
You liar.
No. I thought. Yeah. Okay. I thought you edited something on for the future.
Oh no. So so like the tank line, I'm like I could see that tank line really being solid, at least serviceable for like honestly a top 10 team. But the DPS line feels really stuffy. Really like I don't know who you put in DPS there. You can make a 5-man Korean roster and put one of the English speaking dudes on. Yeah, you're gonna have to. So do you do the Metabellum core plus Hotba plus whatever the meta happens to be once we finally get to Overwatch League?
Yeah.
And like, is the Metabellum core good enough to kind of hold down, plus Hotba good enough to hold down and make a real serious contention? And I just don't think so, because to your point, like they're a top 4 team, which means that they weren't a top 1 or 2 team, which is kind of what I kind of look at. I can't remember, were they in Group B? Because Group A was the one that had Runaway, KDP.
I look.
I can't remember off the top of my head, because Group B was, I don't want to say it like kind of an easier cakewalk thing.
Season 2, they played with Runaway X6 and KDP in Group A. And so Season 1, they played in
Group A in Season 2 for sure was very difficult. And stuff. So I mean, maybe there's something there to say too. But in the end, I don't feel good about the DPS line. I don't know if the overall talent is good enough. Given that they were in the toughest, the toughest of the 2 groups, I think does help them somewhat. But
I do think that the DPS is kind of a strong suit for them, but there are some like logistics there that I need answered first, that I just don't know how the league is going to handle. Because for those who don't know, he played under the name Vesta for a long time and kind of bopped between teams, I think late into 2017 or early 2018. And kind of had some speculation around boosting with him. And Blizzard reportedly had looked into it and said that he hadn't done too much of the boosterinos, but I'm not too sure. I don't know how the league's going to handle that specifically, if they're going to kind of double jeopardy him and kind of slap him on the wrist again, or they're just going to say, your removal from 1 season or like a couple games was enough and we'll let you slide. Like, if that's the case and they do let him slide, then I think that they could be a little bit better. But there is some question marks there, but for the most part, like I think Eileen's good. Like, and this is like a paper team for me. Like everybody on paper is like okay. Like I think their backline's like okay. I think their tanks are okay. I think their DPS are like fairly good. Like I think Kib, Eileen, Happy like fills out your entire DPS like lineup there, and then you have Nero to maybe play as a two-way if that's maybe a thing, or could just be a developmental player that you kind of keep within the team. Might be able to, service on a couple niche heroes every once in a while, but
I'm not high on
I think really.
I don't believe I've seen him dip too much in season 1. Like we saw him in the regular season in season 1 contenders just really not look very good against a field that they should. LGD and LFZ should have been head and shoulders above everyone else. And with the way that Eileen played a lot of the time, I feel like he was a big part of why they weren't in a lot of matches that they should have been. So.
Yeah, it seems, not to get on a big tangent, it seems like that's a lot of Chinese teams where there's always one player that they kind of live or die by. And yeah, I would tend to agree that it was him at times, but I would also say like Only Wish at times be a little bit of an aggro Mercy.
I don't want to put it solely on him, but I just want to say if I'm looking at him to hold down my DPS in the Overwatch League, I need to see a little bit more than what we saw in season 1. Admittedly, I was completely out on season 2, so he might have improved leaps and bounds.
All right.
Yeah.
So to hold Joe accountable here. Do me the honor going into our personal DMs and search for Only Wish, and we will find you asking me,
"Oh yeah,
how was Only Wish?
How was Only Wish in the next?" And he was real bad.
Was he a bot? Yes.
Yeah. Yes, he's not.
Yes, he was a bot. So
Jeez.
yeah, I'm not high on that option.
And then that's I started to quantify that because it's like, okay, he wasn't like not removed. I think that's a little bit too strong, but like LGD didn't want to get rid of him. Now he's in the Overwatch League. Like there's something there. I can't see it through mechanics. I can't see it through skill. Maybe he's a sit caller. I have no clue. But for the most part, he is like painfully serviceable at best. At worst, his Mercy dives in. He looks like altering at times and just kind of goes for these crazy reses that you should never go for. Resing people behind enemy lines that they just die anyways. Like it's a wasted ability. You're just feeding at that point. Like,
I mean, unless his secret ability is doing it in Shakespearean English, I think the effect of whatever intangible he has will be severely diminished in this roster.
Sure, I 100%. No, I completely agree. But that's the thing. It's just like on paper, I don't know why he's here. Like you have 2 Korean supports, 3 Korean supports that actually are like quite good for the contender season. And it's just like, what's going on? Why?
Team.
But there's like so many other good Chinese supports you could have gone.
Player.
Go with the Flag Gaming core, their backline. Go with
well, you don't need a core to do that.
Sure,
you have your
Mika
string 1 core. Maybe he wanted too much.
I don't know, baby.
Sir, I only have one wish. Only one. Get me on the back of Happy. I will never let go. See?
All right, that was a fun show, guys. Thanks for hanging out for episode 12. We'll see you later. I'm just kidding. We're not done yet. We're not done yet. But man, that was close. That was really close. Let's go on to number 14, shall we?
Sure.
All right, Yiska. You're up first. Number 14.
The team we just talked about, Guangzhou.
That's so funny.
Yeah, pretty much. Do we do this? Do we go through these?
Yeah, we're gonna go. Sorry.
Everybody goes through. And then we'll argue.
Joe, you go.
I have Paris at 14.
Okay. Oh my God, I'm gonna die. I don't want to say my 14.
What?
You still haven't say like. Wait, am I wrong? You still haven't said Houston. Have you?
Coming.
Oh,
maybe next episode.
Oh
we'll get
God.
to
Okay.
The humanity.
Here we go. I'm interested now.
I don't want to do it anymore. Oh
Do
my
it.
god. Shanghai.
Oof.
It's a little bit low for me, but not too far off, to be fair.
Okay, I said it. I'm
Okay.
done.
That's okay.
Am I the one that has to kind of justify this one a little bit?
I mean, okay, so for Paris and Guangzhou, like it's like Joe and I just did the little switcheroo there.
Yeah.
I think we pretty much made the points there.
I think
will tell you, you are not alone with Shanghai.
yeah, I don't think you're I'm not that far off of Shanghai.
Oh, okay.
As much as like it pains me to like kind of subject my KDP boys into purgatory, like I don't know about this team. People have definitely swayed my opinion on them, and they make some very compelling points. So we will see. We will see. They've go ahead.
So here's my thinking of this. So, they've obviously abandoned their all Chinese hopes in season 2, right? Dia, the only Chinese player left for that. They pulled the core from Chengdu Panthera, who you could argue were the best team in season 2 of contenders. But I'm mostly worried about the tank line and DPS. I assume they want to run. So tell me, and again, right? Is it D-Ding or just Ding?
Ding.
Ding.
Just
probably off tank over Geguri, right? But Fearless is their only main tank.
I feel like that's the one role that you could lack in redundancy and like not have a substitute.
I get
for.
that, but I don't think he's very I don't think that he's not the one main tank I want.
Sure, 100%. And I think a lot of people have I think Shanghai from season 1 tainted the well for like the Korean members that they tried to bring over. And that's where I think I have them higher a little bit, is I have a little bit more faith that team was just so poorly run in season 1 that we could see the true strength of some of the Korean additions that they made mid-season. If not, that's totally fair. Again, I don't have them too far off. I just am a little bit more positive on them.
And this this is the one where I know that I'm going to get all over because
oh yeah, 100%.
Like it's
just, you might as well just stay off, right?
But every time I look at it, I just can't.
I don't think it's that bad though. Like I don't think it's that far.
I know.
Like
this was the one. Honestly, I've had them in every place from 11 to 15.
Yeah, they've fallen on mine. Quite a bit.
So Fearless, again, I'm not super convinced as a great main tank option. I'm really interested to see how Youngjin fits in if Brigitte comes out of the meta. Because, from what I've seen from him, and again, 8, 9, 10 matches and stuff, like a great Brigitte, but what are they going to do once he doesn't run it? What does he have there? And sure, I know some Overwatch League historian or Overwatch historian is going to come at me and be like,
plays Genji. It's like, well, it's not that great though. Let's be real.
Yeah, and like, oh yeah, Genji's going to be
There's a lot
meta?
of Genjis,
okay.
Smitty.
So like for me, the only real pro here that I'm like, this is really, really good for them is they've got that strong KDP core, right?
And they have synergy at least.
Yeah, and so you've got that, but I'm not confident in the tank line. I don't think their DPS line is potent enough. I think it hinges on DM because I don't think that Dia is the person to do that.
Yeah, I don't think Dia probably will see playtime. I think he's like kind of hanging out. If he does, cool, sweet. Again, I mentioned this on Twitter. Like I seriously think like you could take the random Chinese members on all of like the expansion teams and just put them into one team and you have a solid. It's not a bad team, but like you like they're just kind of scattered around these teams that just don't make much sense. And you just put them all together and you probably have a solid team that could be Guangzhou's team and might do quite well.
And then I just think that they overall kind of lack experience in Overwatch League. That's a whole team where Dia is going to be the one with the most experience in that whole thing. Otherwise, it's kind of a fresh reset.
I think they're praying for a Pharah meta. which, at least from what we've seen in China, we do see it quite a bit. We'll see what happens if that kind of crosses the sea and becomes an international meta.
Roar and DK were huge pieces to the success of KDP.
Yes.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, yes, KDP was an amazing team.
Yeah.
But I don't know how good that is once you insert 2 players for Roar and DK. Right?
Arguably 2 of their strongest.
Yep. So like, there's where I am. Can KDP play a different, like, from what I've watched, do they play a lot different than, Ryan, Zarya, Brig, Mercy, Zen plus a DPS?
Well, the big caveat that I've had it posed to me, because I was actually quite high on them when they first revealed the roster, like, oh, this is a sick team. Like, they got KDP, minus Roar Decay, but they have Ding, and that's really cool. And like, I still think that the Shanghai members that they've kept are like okay-ish. Like they I think they still have room. And somebody had actually posed it to me that, they flourished in a meta that was suited for them, and they still couldn't finish it. They still couldn't seal the deal. Where they still played goats, and it was fine, but in a meta that kind of suited them, they still couldn't win.
Right.
And
so that's
that is a big question.
So that's my big meta concern there. Now you could definitely argue that grand finals was an emotional win, not a a mechanical win, in the sense that I don't know. Oh, looks like I lost Joe and Yiska. So we're gonna come back here in a second. We're just gonna restart the call here. See. You guys there? Awkward. Discord. All right, there's Joe. Joe, you there?
Yes.
Yiska, Joe,
Whoa.
you both here? Hear me?
Yeah.
Yo.
All right, awesome. I'm not even editing that out. Anyways, going back to what I was saying, so we'll get right back on track. Meta is a huge red flag for me. I do think that the loss in the grand finals to Runaway was more of an emotional one than a mechanical one.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. Like, I don't know that if we would have put them again in like a best of 3 series, so like series 1 goes to Runaway, series 2, series 3, I would actually, there's a lot of reasons why I think that KDP would actually walk away with a victory there. But, and again, I think they're really meta dependent. I don't know how they're going to do it without Roar and DK. I am not confident in the stigma, how they will deal with the stigma of being the 0-40 team. I think some teams are going to rise up to the challenge and be like, we're going to avenge that. I think other people are going to put that on their back, and it's going to slow them down. So that's why I rated him low. And I know for everybody on Reddit who doesn't listen to the episode and just like looks at
they're going to see that.
Looks
and just
at
be
the
like,
thing, they're going to be, they're going to go nuts on it. And thanks for backing me up.
Yeah.
Thanks for backing me up. Hope you find my justifications at least like Anyways, so it was more of a stamina win. Blah blah. Okay. Yeah. Anyways,
kind of. You could say that.
No, that's true for every Apex final. Like, who gets there is the achievement. And if one team blows out completely the other team, then that's a sense of domination, yes. But most of the time, these teams are very evenly matched because we got a lot of 4-3 finals. This is a completely different set of games with different rules and whatever. The season hasn't selected for it. The stamina is there. Long commercial breaks. Like, this is not the same Overwatch that you play over the Apex season. So whoever wins that, yes, it's a nice added bonus, but to sort of like elevate this drastically over the position that
it's just different. You can't compare them.
And I'm just not confident that a team that couldn't handle the emotional stress of that finals being able to handle the emotional stress of an Overwatch league. Playing under that pressure too. So, again, I think a little bit of a gamble here. Like, this is one of those upset things where If it's wrong, I'm an idiot. If it's right, I'm
Well,
a,
I mean,
I'm a god.
I think I'm just like the inverse of you, where I'm a little bit more high on them. You're just a little bit more. I don't think there's anything wrong with
Make
that.
me feel better. All right, let's. So feel good on 14. We already talked about your two teams, but is there anything else we want to add on those?
I think Paris is like your team's team, right? Like every kind of NFL, European football, like you have like your team of like not star players, but they kind of work well together, and it could be got a sick coaching staff, maybe bring them together.
Yep.
Could be your team's team that kind of
Individually they're not
more
strong,
than the some other
for
parts. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, not strong.
I mean, not strong
relative,
in the sense that
but
they're not, top 4 or 5, 6.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Now
Well,
for Guangzhou, real quick, I'm hyped to see Happy when he finally plays. I'm hyped to
If
say
he does it.
Shu, by the way.
Sure. Yeah. I've
Heard good things about him.
One J.
I want to see Kip, how he does in that environment, as well as Eileen. And like individually, these are interesting
Exactly,
players with
yeah.
potential. I just don't see it meshing well when it all comes together.
sure. All right. Let's go on to number 13. I'll start Houston Outlaws. So I'm putting up at number 13.
I've got Atlanta Reign at 13.
Interesting.
Shanghai Dragons.
You're just doing that to make me feel better.
No.
Yeah, it's true. You're not the type of person to do that.
No. I
All
would
right.
probably do it to make you feel worse.
I know. It's just like number 4, Shanghai Dragons.
Yeah.
Tagline, KickedTripod is an idiot. Yeah.
Yep.
That's going to be your name of your fantasy.
I would
Overwatch
also
League
log
team.
through all these YouTube and Reddit multi-accounts just blaming you and,
So, and I think this is where, the Outlaws were the biggest. So, Joe, who did you pick?
I
forgot.
have Atlanta Reign.
Talk
at
about
13.
that a little bit for me. Because
So
I haven't
Atlanta-
done my in-depth research of Atlanta Reign.
Sure.
But I know that I don't. I'm not talking about them today.
Well, that's fair.
Ooh.
That's kind of interesting to be fair.
They're
Atlanta
not
for
far
me.
from that though. It's kind of
Okay,
might be a
that's fair.
Paris situation for me.
Okay. Atlanta is a team that has a lot of variables for more reasons than one. Obviously, when people hear me say that, they go, "Oh, you're just kind of over evaluating Defiant," and that's part of it. I don't think I'm over evaluating or overthinking his contribution to the team. But you've got a player like Erster who is very, very good. But we're hearing wins that he might be a little bit difficult to work with at times. Zerster, yes.
Zerster, as our casters said, for how long?
Quite a while.
So, for those of you who don't know, when we were doing the contenders for season 1 of China, the first couple of weeks. So, how the contenders team spectates is they have their little like what's the little shorthand of the team?
They
name?
have
so
the
LFZ.
team, yeah.
So
And then-
LFZ. And so it looked like LFZ Zerster, but you kind of think about it and you go, oh, looking for Zerster, right?
Yeah.
So instead of LFZ Erster, so there was like a week.
There was so many of them.
Yeah, it was not
like there was
easy.
a guy named Ink, and his team name was HTP. So you'd think of like HT Pink, and like you couldn't like when we first started watching, you couldn't like discern from like the tags and the names. So yeah. That's the little inside joke for the Zerster fans out there, but he's another one that I'm just like, I don't know, like he has the potential to be a sick player, and I'm sure we'll see that throughout the season. I just don't know how consistent this team will be. I think there's a chance that they could.
He was
100%. He was sick, but he was sick on a full Korean team with a Korean coaching staff.
That was only winning.
Exactly. Now, if you lose maps here or there, you lose a week, you lose your super week, stuff could get heated. It's another one of those teams that's like, okay, are we calming in English? Like it's going to be hard for the Korean players to kind of like express any kind of emotion or kind of talk through any issues. So it's going to be, you could see tempers flare there. Again, I think this is another paper team. I think everybody looks sick on paper. Like if I rank their power, Defran has the potential to be a sick player depending on the meta, and if he can keep his head in. Erster, again, I'm on record saying he's going to be a big standout this season, and I stand by that. Nalair is a big talent that I think a lot of people are kind of sleeping on. Frontline, Dako and Pokpo, quite good. Gator two-way, not a bad addition if you need somebody to step in. In the backline of Kodak and Masa, while I would like an extra support player just for some redundancy, I think those two definitely do the job. And
anyone
do it
can play
well.
support.
Sure, you could put Defran at support, I suppose.
Yeah, he's fine. It'll be fine.
I wouldn't be shocked to see that he had like a 6 Zen. Like he just comes out and just like running
like
Jonak numbers. Like,
yeah, for sure. Fair enough.
Could that be the new hashtag for Soul Dynasty? Everyone can be support.
I swear I'd love to see Fleta on Zen. Like that would make my day to see Fleta on Zen and just click it.
Yeah. Awesome.
But yeah, that's kind of why I have them a little bit lower than I think a lot of people are like kind of ranking them, is just because I see why I see the power. I just need to see it reach that potential.
I feel like you've spoken out a few times though about believing in Brad and finding.
I think he has a sick eye for talent. I just in the same sense of like season 1 Shock, like just built like on paper built Shock before the Korean kind of you can't look at that roster and say, there are some of these players that don't look as mechanically as skilled, right? I'm not going to name and shame, but there are a few players that just were not up to the task. I wonder if those were kind of role players in to kind of facilitate your kind of young stars that were being moved into. As you grew into those players, they played with each other for a long time. Could that have been the case? I don't know. But again, you're bringing over some good players overall. And, I don't think he has any ill intentions. I think, he might have taken that season to learn, had a clear plan in mind. It just never kind of came to fruition, or it was just too slow to start. But I don't think we can kind of count out his eye for just Overwatch talent. How well that talent works together, I don't know.
I think honestly, I think their success hinges on Defran. I really do. And I believe too much in the underdog comeback story kind of thing.
That's fair.
I'm a sucker for it. I'm just a sucker for it. I think he's gonna come back and do well. It's illogical, so Yiska's gonna hate it. And it's Defran, so Joe's gonna hate it.
I don't hate Defran. I think his Torb is sick.
I'm just kidding. He's got.
Wait, they were co-workers once.
Yeah,
that's true. Me and Defran go back apple pies.
I don't know, man. I just like it. I really do think it's kind of. This is a team for me that is either going to suck or be really stupid good.
Yeah,
and teams aren't.
I think it'll vary on the stage too.
I don't think teams are going to know how to deal with them in the beginning. They aren't going to know what to expect from them in the beginning. I feel like this is kind of what Brad wanted the Shock to be in season 1, and for whatever reason wasn't able to get that going. But I think he got the formula right this time. So I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I don't have anything.
Say a few things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
On Shanghai. So, okay. First, I think the coaches' comments towards how they will play in the next season are concerning to me. He said publicly that he wants to play a different style, attractive Overwatch, aggressive Overwatch. He will find a way to mold it that way. I don't want no scrub. That you play what is best in Overwatch League. It's fine if you have that information or that stance in contenders, because arguably that serves a different purpose. It's absolutely not fine in Overwatch League. You play what gives you the highest win percentage, period. This is not an entertainment contest. So that in itself is concerning. I also now tend to do what I do in these in my content now. I will drip a little bit of leaks in here and there. And then when the people get here, I won't drop the bomb, but I will say this team will have a big bomb dropped on them from the rumors I'm hearing that bumps them down a bunch of notches. If that is actually true, if I could confirm it, I would tell you, but I will tell you that that's a big thing if that happens. So, yeah, just in general, Youngjin is not a good player. I will say I very much agree with Tripod here. The best parts have been picked by Los Angeles Gladiators from them. Dude, if Ding ever starts on D.Va, on any map, it's over. Like, you have two other D.Va players. If Ding is the better D.Va for you, it's over. Like, it's just, I don't even care what the flex potential here is. Like, it's just, everyone's trash, right? I don't think that would be the case. I think for my estimation, I think Gregory will start, or indeed Guardian. Other than that, that team has I think they're quite predictable in where they can land. I think they're solid mid-tier. They could make it into the play-ins, maybe. Rather unlikely. I think they will be just below that cutoff, and I don't expect many surprises here.
I wanted them to be so good. Like, I remember seeing that team and just being like, oh, playoffs team. And then you start to see everybody make the moves, and then slowly Shanghai went from like 8th for me to 10th to 11th to where they are now for me. So yeah, it's they made early moves. They just couldn't seal the deal on some of the best players that the market was kind of pushing. So it's
that makes
not
me feel
unfortunate,
a lot better, by the way.
Yeah, I don't think you were too far off.
Yeah, you do. Let's go on to the next one. So yeah, let's talk about number. We on 12 already? Yeah, I think we're on 12.
Yes, 12. Yeah.
Number 12. I think Yiska, you're up first.
So after Shanghai, I have Atlanta Rain.
Okay, Joe.
I have Shanghai.
We're doing the good old switcheroo here. Okay. Tripod.
Dang, dude.
Are you still not saying
He's like,
Houston, my dude?
Yikes, dude.
Didn't I just said Houston for 13.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Settle the down, okay?
Okay. We're good.
So, man, I want to change my answer. I want to change my answer, but I can't defend it.
You can't defend your changed answer, or you can't defend
my change, yeah.
So what do you want? So who do you have at 13, and why do you want to change?
So
them?
we've already done 13, right?
We're on 12.
We're on 12.
Sorry, can't count.
I have Guangzhou.
I
have Guangzhou.
I think you could be excited for. I'm just not. That's all.
I could be what?
You could be excited for them. I'm just not. I just worry that you have. So for the folks at home, like,
have you already said
every
Guangzhou?
team? Yeah, I said they're at like 15.
Okay, never mind. I feel good about that. Okay.
Yeah.
I honestly,
it's not too far.
Wait, no.
But
I already
like
said Guangzhou. No, Hangzhou. Sorry, Spark.
Oh, Spark. Okay. That's
okay.
That's a little low for me, but yeah, that's fair.
I see.
So, okay, and then was I the last one there? I mean, are we the one that am I gonna have to defend my answer yet again?
Yeah, probably.
Fuck. Okay. Yeah. So
do you want to phone a friend?
No. So I mean, here's the thing, right? Roster has a ton of upside. Gushui obviously is amazing. We saw Crystal do great stuff in China. Probably two of the hottest free agents that you could grab from Chinese contenders.
Oh yeah.
X6 is less than a year away from their contender season 1 victory, and obviously, they had one of the toughest group in season 2 contenders. And so you've got that. Mask and Yindong coaching core, I think, is also a really solid thing for them that they've got going on. I don't know how Supreme fits in that. But for me, the weak part here is 7. It's just 7. Like, why do you have a team that was relegated to contenders trials? Like, I mean, in the end, like, I just don't know if are there really Overwatch League teams with players with cores of teams that are in contenders trials that are top 10 contenders in Overwatch League?
I think you could have individuals. I mean, like
individuals, sure, but how many?
Yes.
3? 3? I think 3 from 7, not including Supreme.
The only one I really raise an eyebrow at is like a Dora, where it's just like he looks okay. Like if you show me a highlight reel of anybody, I'm sure they're sick, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't get
like
it. Like,
compared to the field.
I watched
like,
IDK.
Not
I watched
sick.
IDK play in contenders a ton.
I thought he was good.
I mean, sure, he was good, but like, is he Overwatch League quality? Like, can you have a guy who is like
His only wish Overwatch League quality?
No.
There you go. There's a lot of people that I'm just like,
yeah, IDK is one of those for me. Watched him extensively on it, and I'm just not confident in it. So I don't believe in their support line. I haven't seen enough tape of it, but from what I've seen, it doesn't feel good to me. And again, the thing that sticks for me over and over and over and over again is this investment into 7. Like, again, you have 3 players and a coach coming over. Like, it's clear, like, there's some sort of understanding there of how these players are going to fit in. And unless it's like you and your backups for him, and him. Like, I just don't see how that works. I just, and at the end of the day, X6 was the team that couldn't be Runaway or KDP.
Yeah.
They weren't. They didn't. But they didn't. Joe, they didn't. Tell me I'm wrong, but they didn't.
You're right. They didn't. I agree. I don't know. I look at this team. I think with that logic, I worry that okay, so I could be speaking out of school here. But I think the tank meta has affected Korea a little bit rough. We saw them look good against the UK, who only played GOATs. They adapted quite quickly. I've spoken to a lot of the players on UK, and they were floored with how quickly and masterfully Team Korea adapted. And those are some of the best players in the world. Now we look at contenders last year for Korea, or last season, was okay. Look at this season, it's not looking great. I seriously wonder if they have completely grasped how to play GOATs just yet. And I think that has hit a lot of teams really hard, and has
GOATs is going to be gone by Overwatch League.
I'll be straight with you. I don't think the idea of dive and the idea of GOATs, it just as like a 3-3 like heavy tank composition, will go anywhere. I think those are kind of like our staples that you could see teams adapt stylistically, where back in the day you had a team like the old NIP roster, right? They were a very tank heavy team. They liked tanks. That was their style. They played that where everybody else was playing stuff that was a little bit more divey. I think we had some hit scan players in there, but they were like, no, we think tanks are the right thing to do. And they did that. So I think since then, and they found success on it. They weren't winning tournaments, but they were going pretty deep in tournaments with running compositions that like nobody else were even like bothering because it was their style, right? I seriously, since then, I've thought that tanks probably could have made a comeback, and now we see goats, and we had like triple quad tank before. I don't think they're going anywhere. I think it's going to be up to the patch. I don't think goats will be dead by any means. I think there are maps that we've traditionally seen like tanks flourish on, like Control Center for Lijiang, for instance, right? I think teams are going to be much more fluid on like what compositions they run on what map. And I like this team because of the flexibility. So it's a lot of like tangent lines for me on why I think they could be good. It's like a baseline level for me that I think that they can check a lot of boxes for me, but that's my reasoning.
I feel like I have to be consistent in rating the X6 core like I've rated the other 3, 2, and 1 cores in Korea. And I feel like by rating them higher, I would be inconsistent in that ranking. I feel like there's a logical
That's fair.
inconsistency.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Me personally, I think I've always been a little bit higher on X6 than I think people have been comfortable with. So
I'll tell you, they aren't coming for a while for me.
Yeah, I've got them within top 10.
Well, shit.
Okay. By the way, short side tangent on that one, on the goats meta thing. I think we're setting up the way these patches are setting up right now. We are installing a gambling season. And why do I think that?
Yes.
I think what will happen is we're getting stage 1, we're getting goats.
Yep.
Then the worst teams will go like, okay, so we're getting
what's on PTR?
Meta. What we're getting a new meta, and the signing window opens. Who do we buy? Like, this will be a cluster F, right? Like, I think the way this is shaping up with the patch, which is unfortunate because I think the level of play could be so high, and if teams actually got the source in stage 1, what they needed for the entire season, this could be much better. Like if they substitute, by the time stage 2 runs around, I think Contenders season 1 of 2019 will be going on. So you could pick the good parts also of the stuff that you're seeing right now in Contenders, right? So like it could all be so good. It could just be a readjustment or like an overhaul for some of those teams, but they would have a clear idea what's happening over the rest of the season. Considering that we're likely going to see a massive meta shift, I think that this meta shift will be so severe because the blowback of season 1 goats will be so heavy in terms of what the viewership says to it, that we will see new archetypes played. I don't think 3-3 comps will be played much after stage 2, late stage 2, let's say.
Yep. I think we'll have another hero by the time stage 1 starts.
That's also very possible, yeah. Then again, he needs to be introduced and all these.
And then he'll have like a buffer week or 2 before that hero gets introduced.
I think they're going to push him quick.
Yeah, I tend to agree. You think they're going to... I think if Blizzard has the pulse on the community, I think they ought to, because as we all know, nobody likes watching goats. At least the community at large doesn't like watching it. I like it. I think it's kind of like a little chess match personally, but I know I'm not in the majority, so I can see why Blizzard might want to make changes leading into their second season and make things a little bit more watchable for the everyman. So I can see it. I could see it.
Yeah.
I think they'll favor watchability over competitive integrity in season 2 for a lot of reasons that we've been seeing. Let's go on to number 11 and then get out of here. And then I'm gonna just go cry in a corner. Number 11, Joe.
I have the Los Angeles Valiant at number 11.
Yiska?
You go first, Tripod.
No, I don't want to. I've done this twice today where I've had to go with an unpopular pick.
Okay,
and
I guess we're both breaking hearts then. We're both on breaking hearts point. Toronto Defiant.
Yes, me too. I am not alone. Yes. Woo.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll go first, Yiska. Toronto Defiant. What about you?
Okay.
We need to talk about Valiant. We need to talk about Valiant first, because obviously this is
okay.
This is very different for me than where I have.
Me personally, I haven't been too to original 12 teams that have not made a ton of iteration. I think the iteration that they have made is very absent or hollow. For instance, a lot of their changes to the roster have been removal of players that didn't really see much playtime in the first. They've gotten rid of a strong coach and they've lost Soon, which is a blunder. My bad. Sorry. So they've let go of a couple good players. They brought on Kuki, who I kind of thought that he was going to be a little bit more sought out after, and that's not to say that he wasn't, but I thought he was a great fit for Shock. I think even looking at Shock now, I think he could be a great fit for them. I think Smurf is okay. We saw him at California Cup. He seemed fine. But if I'm hearing things correctly, they're very invested in Moth. And Moth does not speak Korean. Do you know who speaks Korean and English? Kuki. So you can have a translator in game. We've seen that be very successful. That's why I put Kuki and I put Arc as once. That's fair. We have one sample size to say that it's been successful, but you can start. You can
sure. It's at least a method that we've seen work. Sure,
but you can see why that would work though, right? Like if I'm in a game and I make a call,
obviously not because I don't have the Valiant at number 11, but
that's fair. But that's just why I rate Kuki high. That's a tangent. But they haven't made any other changes that really make me all that happy. They have kept Agilities, who I've never been that excited for. I think at moments he looks great. Others he's a little bit middling. That playoffs run and him and Hangzhou never really has been erased from my memory. And it was a little rough. And for the most part, I think they're a fine team. They're kind of just on the outskirts of playoffs for me. And yeah, I think they're just okay. They're very okay for me.
Right?
Yeah.
These formats, so
like
just outside,
they can compete for play-ins, sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I have them rated significantly higher, but
I don't.
I guess I shouldn't say significantly.
I could.
Mm-hmm.
But I have them rated higher.
I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Fair enough. Well, let's talk about the Defiant a little bit, Yiska. I want to hear why you've made the mistake of having them at the same point as me.
Okay, so for me, of course, so I have to be conscious of my biases. It's a possibility that I even have them too high. Like Baroy is on that roster. We're good friends with him. I look at that roster.
Oh, I forgot about that. Never mind. Defiant number 1. Defiant number 1.
People will probably look at that roster and say they got the worst of the O2 core. With that, I disagree.
Yes.
I think Ivy is amazing. Now, okay. I also was very high on Envy in season 1. I liked Neko, and I think Neko was a top 3 Zenyatta when he got to play. I recognize that there are outstanding issues with him in terms of what will happen this season to him. Also that, there were some toxicity issues like on social media and whatever. If that turns inward again, we don't know. There's also the question of Yakpon. And people would probably say he is not a good main tank. I think statistically that's wrong if you looked at the season. And I think that is wrong. So that's the factor that made me rate them higher. I tried really hard to not overvalue him because of the fact that Baroy is on that team. Though I will say, the fact that Baroy is indeed on that team and knowing what he did last season to Overwatch League rosters makes me feel quite good about Toronto. Hence why they are one of the better expansion teams.
Oh yeah, I think that's going to be an unpopular opinion when it comes to Reddit.
Yes.
And I love that. I love it so much.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I
It's
think
going to be an unpopular opinion.
I just don't think a lot of people like look at this roster and are excited for it.
Where
Where
did you have Defiant?
Defiant
You haven't
for
said it
me?
yet, right?
No, not yet.
Okay.
They're not too much higher, but they're higher
Okay.
for me.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, as for me, I think a lot of the similar things, obviously, I've kind of come out a few times and said that I think Neko is one of the most important pieces to Boston's success in season 1. And I'm
I agree.
a full believer in that. His ults were always amazing. Click when he needs to, but man, just consistent. You can easily say that Envy, when he was playing, looked amazing. So, and again, I have this same thing with we don't really know specifically, at least officially, what happened with Envy moving away from the Valiant in season 1.
One thing we have to say that is probably we have to say when we talk about Envy is he didn't look good in Contenders.
No,
But he looked good in Overwatch.
He had to play a different style. That is crucially the case.
Yeah, I'm high on Envy.
Yeah, I think if that team can play an aggressive style with their tank line, I think they can do a lot. I also think that there is excitement in me in where they can peak based on just like, okay, 11th place is play-ins. Yes. So they could totally get it into playoffs in that play tournament. And I also think, depending on the meta, okay, but this is a team that will take time over the season. It will become is increasingly better. I also trust them to make some of the best mid-season moves.
Yeah.
And that's why I look at them and I look at Valiant, and that's where I was just like, I like Defiant's DPS. Valiant's DPS, very, very potentially. I want to see them reach that potential. Agility is inconsistent. Bunny, Tracer, KSF. Haven't seen him. Heard good things. Haven't seen him very often. I've seen the Korean players.
I just don't see that there's a way where a team that finishes number 1 in their division and, kind of second overall falls this far from losing soon? Basically, like that's kind of who they maybe kind of, soon.
I think soon played a crucial role for their DPS though. Like it was always you could always just rely on him. Who are you relying on? Agilities?
And again, right? So I think you make a good point. Like who fills that role in DPS? And I think you bring up a good point, but I don't think that's enough to tank them from 2 to 11.
Fair enough.
I don't.
So let me pose it. Let me pose you this.
Yeah.
Easy unknown quantity. Saw him at California Cup.
Sorry, you pushed to talk me again. So
okay, it's Izayaki, right? That's my next one. Kind of an unknown quantity. We saw him at Cali Cup. Looked okay. How serious is it? How much have they been practicing? I don't know. I want to see him in the league playing week by week. I want to see Custa. He's a great caller. Fabulous. That's a great intangible. But he has some question marks around him. I would not say that he is one of the best main supports in the league. I just wouldn't. I don't think mechanically I would be comfortable in saying that Custa is a strong main support. I think he's a strong caller and a strong leader for this team, in the same way that I think Runner was. But again, there's some limiting factors there.
Sure, I respect that, and I get
it. That's just my opinion.
It's just really difficult, and again, I don't think we have any other teams that have dropped a whole 10 places, as far as I can think of. In that, this is basically saying that this team had the worst offseason of any other team, a second place team.
They just haven't had much of an offseason. And they got kooky.
I think that in season 2, I think some of that plays into their favor. I really do. It's the reason why I rated Outlaws from you guys. I could be wrong, but at least I'm going to be consistently wrong in this. Fine. I rated Outlaws a little higher because I think the first half of the season is going to carry their last half of the season. in a lot of ways.
I mean, that's a fair thing.
And
That's
I think
essentially what we.
I think as a team coming from season 1, the idea is to survive the first half of season 2, and then make big boy pickups wherever you're missing. And I think that that's going to become the thing. And I think two-way players are kind of a vehicle for that a little bit. And I think that that's something that, like the LA Valiant and the Houston Outlaws have going for them. By not making those big pickups, they've been able to put themselves in a position to make the big pickups when they know that they need them.
Hopefully.
Knowing that they have a big advantage going into stage 1 specifically, in the sense that they have a whole core that has played together for a long time. And we've seen how meaningful that can be in Overwatch League.
Yeah.
I would say if we can keep bringing back the language barrier thing as a consistent factor, then we can absolutely bring back the synergy thing as a consistent factor.
I mean, what we're essentially disagreeing on is, and that is a fair point, and I have no idea how this is going, how valuable season 1 experience is in comparison to
that's going to be a fun,
and that's essentially what we're disagreeing on, right? You have the established teams higher than the both of us, I guess, simply because you think that works out, and you might very well be right, and that factor would shift my personal, like if I had the answer to that, right. For instance, if this was a season 3 show, like yes, I would probably either rate as I do now, because experience is not as big of a factor, or I would completely switch that, and then I can see your reasoning. We just don't know yet, and I don't think that's fair. That's fair. A thing one can necessarily be wrong about at this point.
Make the jump, take the risk. I get it. Fair enough. All right. Yeah. I don't like Valiant at 11. I just don't.
I don't like Spark at. What would you have to Spark at?
You know what? Shut up. I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna change it in post.
Change it in post.
I wanted to change it. Like I said, the Spark. I would say out of every team that I just couldn't rate. Like I felt like I didn't know enough about them. I didn't know enough, and so for this one, I truly had to scrounge a lot of other rankings of the Spark and a lot of other like third-party source material to do it, because I didn't have a lot of first-party experience. It's the Spark.
Do you want to hear like a fun little thing that I had to change after I had reviewed my?
Yeah,
I remember telling you guys last episode that I had like a shocker, right? Like there was somebody who I thought was just like way too high, and after like just like going through the first episode, I'm like, yeah, maybe I think I have them too high. I had Spark at 5.
5?
Yeah, they're not at 5 anymore.
I wish you would have done that.
I started to check my own logic and being like, oh, but if I'm gonna say this, I can't say that. So they went down, and then I'm like, well, then they're below this team, and that still follows that same train of thought. So they go down again, and I'm just like, well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was very, very bullish on them. But yeah.
Yeah, I just, and again, like this is, I can't even look at the Reddit comments.
Well, you're also going to get the people who are just like, but they're blue and pink. And it's just like, yeah, but it has nothing to do with any of the stock. Like,
bad colors.
You're also
It's not a good looking color scheme.
Unless
you want to stand out. Like it's not a good color scheme, guys. So
is it better than red, silver, and black though? I gotta say.
So here's what I will say about the Toronto Defiant is
or Atlanta.
One, look what I'm wearing, by the way. So yes, it is worse than that. But
see, dude,
the Toronto Defiant make a great metal band T-shirt. Make a great metal band T-shirt.
What about Atlanta? They literally have almost the same exact colors.
Atlanta, well, so it's not just about the colors; it's about the logo.
Sure.
The little like thing. The Atlanta Reign make a great default shield decal in Medieval Total War.
Yes, that looks like a Halo 2
2002
emblem.
edition. Yeah.
Yes.
The Atlanta Reign, man. How do you just? I mean, listen, I get it. Rain, and then
And that's where I look at Shock, and I'm like, or Spark. That's why I'm like, you know what? You were bold. I know what skin I'm seeing in quick play. When I see someone lock it in, I'm like, oh, a Spark fan. Very. When I see a Defiant or Toronto skin, I'm just like, or
it's
not
one
Defiant
of those.
Toronto, a Defiant or Atlantis.
Defiant is one of those like edgy. Like, it's one of those edgy Christian clothing companies.
Yeah. And that's
like,
the kind of vibe they win. Like, you look at their videos, just like a brooding character walking through the alley, like, we run this city. They don't know it yet, but we do, and we're.
I can't wait to get my Toronto Defiant double bass pedal. Like.
I want like black armbands with spikes.
Yeah. Fair enough. With spikes.
Yeah.
You can't
eyeliner.
Sir, you can't bring that into the Overwatch League arena. I'm sorry.
We're gonna need to tag that. That could be a weapon.
That's not allowed in here. But it's official merch. Yeah, we know you're an edgelord, but no, you can't bring it into the arena, Carl. My name's not Carl. It's
Steve.
It's Massive XD3.
My name's Apple.
What? Apple? Yeah. Anyways, wow. Yeah. We could do a branding podcast. We could do a branding ranking.
Dude, what do I know about branding?
I was gonna
what
say,
do I know
like,
about
listen.
I wear street camouflage, my dude. Blue, all blue. You're not standing out. Nobody cares about your existence. That's perfect.
You can't wear all blue. You just can't do that.
All blue. No, I
you
totally
should.
do.
I mean, oh man,
this is the guy who like
kick your ass.
will die on the hill that the Dallas Fuel have the worst name in Overwatch.
They do.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if they do still. I haven't reevaluated. I haven't gone into the archives.
Of the original Dallas Fuel, who's worse?
I was not big on the Shock, especially after they like
Shock
with Shockwave.
Shock makes sense. It's on the Richter scale of the Golden Gate Bridge. It's brilliant branding.
But the Dallas Fuel doesn't make sense.
Fuel makes sense, except that it's just an ugly look. Well, so a lot of people, believe it or not, even halfway through, I found people who didn't realize that the F was like the flame was an F.
Yeah.
For fuel. A lot of people didn't see that. I'm like, are you guys? A lot of people still don't know that the Shock thing is like in the shape of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
So
but
don't get
not
me wrong.
stolen from SoundCloud.
Yeah, it's not the SoundCloud one, guys.
It took me back to like 2006 where I'm trying to surf on like coolmathforkids.com and they're asking me to download the Shockwave player. Like, I don't want this. This just looks.
I think there's a lot they could have done with the Shock thing, but it's.
I do like the orange though. I do like the orange.
Dude,
I appreciate bold colors.
It is at least an alliteration. San Francisco Shock. Dude, there's nothing that's more repulsive.
2 points for alliteration. Like, is that a grading criteria?
Fuel, dude, like
the Florida Mayhem. Is that
you don't
better,
understand
dog?
the lifeblood of that state, sir.
Dude, like, okay, maybe that's just the outside of America thing, but everyone already thinks outside of America Texans are idiots. Like the Texas is like the gluttonous belly that just wants to eat. Give me more fuel, give me more, like oil. And that
my wife is from Texas, by the way, you stupid.
That's the part of the world where the W's come from and start wars from, and you call that fuel. It's terrible. Everyone outside of America thinks it's terrible. It sounds ugly. And the logo is
Florida Mayhem, who look like this is like
that's
the typical
playful,
like Florida.
Dude.
That's what?
It's Mayhem is playful.
Playful.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
This looked like it was designed by Florida Man himself.
I think you have to go a long. I think you have to go a long way. You have to go a long way to get to Dallas Fuel starting wars, Texas. Like, I get it. Yes, there's the Texas cowboy, big hat, oil, kind of all that stuff, and I
Marlboro
get,
man.
Yeah, I get that. Like,
What was that story?
What's
You had
the-
posted an Insta story recently with you and your wife in Texas, and you were in some
Oh
sort
my
of like
God.
shopping
Yeah,
center,
Buc-ee's.
and there was hey,
Oh,
we
it
call them
was-
buggies here, okay? Or at least I do.
Buc-ee's. Yeah, so it's
Buc-ee's,
like
yeah.
this
Oh,
gas
Buc-ee's,
station that's a full-on like convenience store. That's a full-on like discount 70 store. That's a full-on deli.
So it's like Wawa.
Like I just oh man, I just like I never told. It was just very overwhelming. You know, there's but like every place is like every place that, you know, talks about Minnesota be like, "Oh, is it cold up there?" I'm like, "Not 6 months out of the year, bro." Like, you know, check your facts, okay? You know, it's the same thing. Texas, like, you know, you're like, "Ooh, Texas is all about that fuel and oil coming from your oil heated house in Germany." Like,
Somebody in chat makes a great I see Yiska commenting on this now. Where does Vancouver get the Titan?
I don't.
Not big on the colors myself. I understand why you picked them. I get it.
What is
Yeah,
the
they are,
plural
like,
of Sasquatch?
Doesn't mean I have to like.
What is
I don't know. I really don't know. I'm assuming it has to do
Sasquatches or Sasquatch or Sasqui.
Sasquatch. Can we headcanon Sasqui?
Sasqui. The Vancouver Sasqui.
That's what I want to call him. Yeah, Sasqui.
All right.
I don't get any of it. I like the team. The team's okay.
Mhm.
Colors,
I'd be fine. But at the
Logo,
same
eh.
time, the Colorado Avalanche have Bigfoot as the logo on the shoulders.
Hmm.
So the logo makes sense for Vancouver, the Pacific Northwest, Sasquatch, Bigfoot,
Yes.
whatever. The name Titans, I don't know. I don't know if there's a lore there that I'm missing that
Yeah.
Sasquatch is a Titan, but I don't get it.
Him
All right.
and Kronos go way back, dude.
All right, we got to get out of here. We're done. We're done with this. Thank you guys for hanging out. Have an awesome time. Yiska, Joe, anything coming up?
I got some fun stuff coming up with a couple of Contenders players. Stay tuned. You'll follow the social media for everybody here.
At
we all have
Volamel.
fun things coming.
At
Yes, all that
Volamel.
stuff.
Yiska, anything for you?
Dropping fun leaks tomorrow.
Fun leagues tomorrow. Why? Just drop it on the show.
No.
All right, fine. I'm back in my studio. Studio 10, by the way. Studio X. We skipped number 9, went straight to 10 because that's what Apple and Windows does. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to be back next week. No, we're not. No show next week. Have a happy Christmas, holiday, New Year, whatever. Not New Year. We'll be back before New Year's. But we're going to be gone next week because I'm going to be in Florida. It's just going to happen. We're going to get out of here. Bye, guys. Thanks again. See ya.